Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Pages to Pixels podcast. I'm Kirtana.
I'm Nolan.
And I'm Kevin. And this week, we're going to be giving our top 10 films of 2024.
But
Actually, before we start, I wanted to ask, in general, how did you guys feel this was as a year of movies compared to 2023?
It was kind of shit.
Really?
A little bit, I think so. Well, at least in the Hindi film space, I think this year was because I was going back and looking at everything I watched, and it was hard for me to pick out like as many Hindi films as I would have thought I would. How about you guys?
It's hard for me to compare it to 2023 because I would have to really sit down and go through the entire list. But overall, I think there was a lot of great movies. I had trouble making this list because there was 3 to 5 movies in particular that I really wanted on this list, but I couldn't fit them. And while I'm saying that, I still feel like there's a lot that I didn't get to see. I still haven't seen The Brutalist. Who knows? That could potentially be on the list. So I think this was overall a pretty solid year. I will agree with you, Kirtan. There's not much that I can think of in terms of Hindi films.
No, I see what you mean. I didn't get to catch All We Imagine Is Light. That one I was really excited to see, but it hasn't released anywhere around me, so I wasn't able to catch that. There was also there's this other Tamil film. It's called May Aragon, which is it's online, but it's supposed to be about traveling home and homesickness and stuff like that. And I just chose not to watch it because it was I don't know. I live on the other side of the globe. So that I see what you're saying. There are a bunch of things that I would have liked to watch. Some I chose not to, and some that I just didn't get a chance to. So I think for me, this list is going to be a lot more of it's just in hindsight, what stands out to me.
Right.
What was memorable as a good experience is kind of what I put on my list. How about you, Kevin?
I think that this year and last year are pretty comparable for me. About the same amount of films that I saw, and also, because I like to seek out films that, for right now, that I think that I would enjoy. And for the most part, I think this year was pretty solid with what I chose to watch, especially in my favorite genre, horror. I think that there were a lot of new voices in horror this year. We covered Cuckoo on the podcast, but we also had In a Violent Nature, Long Legs. There are an Alien Romulus, a remake of, or a big update on Alien. I think there was just a lot of new things that popped up in horror that didn't pop up last year at all. I remember last year I was I think it was just Talk to Me, and that was the only thing that came out. So yeah, there was a lot more in the space that I was really excited for this year. That I think that's going to be the most memorable thing for me. I didn't get to catch a couple things Bird. Do not expect much from The End of the World, which is from the same director of Balik Banging Rohan, which I know we've seen together, and the Brutalist, like you had mentioned, and I also did not catch Furiosa. That's probably the biggest thing that I did not see this year. So,
do you want to right now, just in your head, just pick one film that you think is on the other person's list? Type it out or something so that at the end we can see if we guessed it right.
Oh, okay.
Sure. I'll try to say something that I don't know.
I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing.
And I'm doing a guess for both of you.
Yeah, so that once we go through, we'll see if you were close or what.
Oh god, my handwriting is atrocious. Okay.
Nice.
Are we just guessing like the number one, or are we guessing?
No, just like I think that X movie is going to be on your list,
Okay.
Rohan, and one on
Yeah.
Kevin's list. Okay.
Yeah, I think this should be not too hard.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
hope
we'll see.
I hope not, because we've been doing this for like a year now.
Yeah.
You know. Okay. So we're starting 10 and going back up, right? Going upwards,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah. And
Yes.
real quick for our listeners,
Mhm.
we're doing what is called a plant and payoff. In screenwriting terms, that means you plant something and then you pay it off later. For example, most famous is probably Chekhov's gun. If you see a gun early in the movie, you know at some point there's going to be a shot fired.
Mhm.
How we're doing it on this list is basically we want to talk about the movies when they're higher up on the list. So if I have a movie at 10, but that is Kirtana's, she has that same movie at 1, she will immediately say plant, and we're not going to have any discussion about it there. We'll have the discussion when it gets to Kirtana, and that's the payoff.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool idea, Rohan.
Thank you. I totally stole it from a different podcast. Not going to say which one.
Okay. Okay, at number 10, I have an animated film. I have Moana 2. We did not watch this movie together. For context, we watch a lot of films together. This one I went to all by myself, and I absolutely loved it. I think my favorite part of the film was that her relationship with her grandma. It was extremely well. It was extremely well done. It felt very realistic, and it brought me to tears. So I have Moana 2 at number 10.
Yeah, unfortunately, I missed that movie. I was traveling,
Mm-hmm.
and by the time I got back, it was just it had fallen behind. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
probably catch it on Disney Plus eventually.
Yeah, worth the watch, I would say.
My only anecdote about it was the really weird AI like advertising that was in some like smaller theaters during the movie where basically it showed Moana was like pregnant in the movie, but like this was like on the screens. It was just like fake clips from the movie, like that were not actually in the film. Instead of running the trailer, they would play like AI
Oh my gosh.
generated clips of it Moana too. I think that was really strange.
Did,
But
do you
yeah, I
know if it
didn't
was
get to
just an
see it
error,
either.
or if that was like a choice, like someone woke up and decided, today I'm going to do this?
What a choice to make if you wake up and say, I need to run AI Moana 2 things in my movie theater, because that will drive in the maybe they just don't have the ability to play the trailers outside of the theater, but I don't know.
Right. Oh, okay. How about you, Kevin?
So my number 10 is a film that appeared on Netflix. It's called It's What's Inside, directed by Greg Jardin. And this is a body swapping horror comedy, which is about a group of friends that get together, and one of them brings this like device that allows them to swap bodies temporarily. And they kind of make like a whole game of it. But when more like antics ensue, that's when the movie really picks up. I thought it was very funny and very original, especially for a body swap, like a body swapping genre. You know, it's not new, but I felt like this was a new thing in the space, and I think that um, play they play with the genre that they're in really well. And yeah, if you just want to kick back and relax with some friends and watch a silly movie, It's What's Inside was probably that movie for me last year.
If
Nice.
when you started with It's What's Inside and you said it was on Netflix, I thought you were going to say It Ends With Us. And I was very ready to jump into the drama.
I haven't seen that one either. I have heard about it though, mostly from you, but but I gotta check it out.
Mhm. That sounds interesting.
All right.
Hey, Rohan, off to you.
All right. At number 10, I have How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies. This is it's a Thai movie. It's a comedy drama about a guy in his 20s who he's taking care of his grandma because she just got diagnosed with cancer, and he's hoping to get an inheritance from her. At least that's how it starts. But he does get an actual bond with her, and what ends up happening is the movie ends up being really, really funny, but also super heartfelt. And I think what really stands out is even when it's funny, it doesn't feel like artificial. Not like they're doing a bit or anything like that. It just feels like you're watching a real family interact. And this is just how they joke around with each other. Yeah, love this movie.
Oh, what's it available on?
I don't know. I was able to catch it in theaters, so I'm not sure if it's streaming anywhere.
Got it. Cool. 9, I have Lucky Bhaskar, which is a Dulquer Salmaan film. It's on Netflix and it's available in multiple languages. It's a heist thriller, I would say. It's about a bank robbery, and they're pretty upfront about it in the trailers and all the promotional material. I thought it was very well paced, and the plot was airtight, and it was engaging. Like, it kept me like immersed throughout. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about this movie. I haven't seen it yet, though.
It's Dulquer Salmaan's like highest grossing film, like, of his career right now. So
yeah, I saw that it's on Netflix now, I think.
Yeah, definitely worth a watch.
Okay.
Like, a lot of fun. Kevin.
At number 9 for me, I mentioned it earlier when I was talking about horror. I have Longlegs, directed by Osgood Perkins. And I will say that I have problems with this film, but I want to really recommend it because I think even though this is a pretty straightforward detective searching for a serial killer drama horror, I think the way that they play with the atmosphere really just keeps the audience on their toes throughout the whole film. There's just a really unnerving feeling that you get in every scene. And I can't say that I felt that way about many horror movies in the last few years. Kind of just like you get paranoid when you watch this movie. And for that reason, I think that it just really struck a chord with me. And that's why I wanted to put it on my top 10.
So a movie made you paranoid and it really struck a chord with you? Good to know.
Yeah. I'm already paranoid enough in my regular life. Now I have a movie to really like help that happen again.
You just felt at
Longlegs? Yeah, Longlegs
ease.
is one that I really wanted to watch. I missed it in theaters. I haven't seen it yet, but it's I wouldn't be surprised if this is one that would have ended up on my list had I seen it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about it. This was one of those movies that I chose not to watch because not a horror person, and I have no desire to experience the paranoia that you seem passionate about, Kevin. So
But you miss out on Nicolas Cage singing.
that
Like, you could get
Nicolas
that.
Cage has consistently surprised me over the past few years. I watched what was that one? Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
I haven't seen it.
It's so good. And
I've
then
seen
there's
it.
he also plays Dracula in Renfield, I think.
Renfield.
Yeah, great stuff. All right, Rohan.
All right. It's interesting that we were all picking movies that the other two haven't seen. But my number 9 is one that I know that at least one of you have seen, and that's Love the Ladies.
That's right. That is a plant, so we will go straight past.
I figured it would be.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's that low on your list. At number 8, I have Jigra, which
I love
I know.
this, but not on my list.
Yeah. I thought it was excellent. I thought the fight sequences were great. I thought Alia Bhatt's performance was mind-blowing, and the storytelling of the film was like solid for me, and so I had to put it on my list.
I really need to check this one out.
Yeah.
It's something that wasn't really on my radar, and I think had it been, I would have caught it a lot earlier. When you guys told me you were watching it, I was like, oh, okay, like I don't know anything about this movie, and then roll around to the podcast week, and I'm like, wait, like this is what this is about, and this is who it's by. I'm like, why did I not just see this? Like, I'm so mad at myself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on Netflix.
Well, it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's on Netflix. Yeah, I thought this movie was awesome. This is one of those where it's like, I really wish I could put it in my top 10. I just couldn't sneak it in there. But yeah, I've been listening to the music from this movie like almost on a daily basis since I've seen it.
It really just immerses you in its world.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Kevin.
Great. At number 8 is a film that I think this is the most recent film I saw on this list. It's called Cloud, directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. I really love Kiyoshi Kurosawa's films. He's a pretty prominent director in like the horror mystery space. And this past year, he came out with a short film called Chime, which I just saw actually yesterday, and I thought it was pretty good. Surprisingly, a lack of chimes in the movie, but I won't dive into that. But Cloud is his other film, which I went into it expecting it to be a horror, but it's more of a thriller, and it's about a guy who drop ships basically like really used cheap items and scams people, and over time he's collected a lot of people who are really mad at him and are going to get a vendetta against him. It's a really fun thriller because it takes a while to really like pick up. Like they set up a lot of pieces. This film like has a main character who is pretty unlikable, but by the end of it you end up rooting for them and feeling that empathy towards them. And I feel like I haven't had that experience watching any of Kurosawa's other films. So yeah, I don't want to say much else about it. I think the less that you know, the better. Just know that if you're a fan of his work, or you're a fan of just like really slow burn thrillers, like this is the film for you.
Hey, cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
I feel like this is a familiar story. Everyone hasn't seen my movies, but we're gonna get into it later, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely one that I want to check out. It's just, it's just difficult. I watched, I think I watched like 42 movies this year that were just 2024 releases, and there's still so many that I haven't been able to catch up on.
It's also interesting because you always get recommendations like from like anyone and everyone. It's like anytime you talk to anyone about film, they have like 5-6 recommendations to give, and it's great because I have a list, but the list just keeps growing, and I don't think there's enough hours in my lifetime to catch all of those films.
Yeah, I'll try to be better this year.
All right, Rohan.
All right, Rohan, your turn.
All right, my number 8. I'm gonna guess this might also be a plant, but The Substance is my number 8.
Plants.
Yeah, I figured.
Right. Nice.
Right.
Okay. All right. My number 7 is Furiosa.
That's a plant.
I figured when I was putting it there. Yeah, we'll talk about it when we get to pay it off. Kevin?
Okay, so it's back to me. I don't think this is going to be on your guys' list, but we've all seen it. It's Kinds of Kindness, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos.
So it's like right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that if you had it early, then I would get the plant, but I didn't hear it. So I was like, oh, I think we're getting to the point where now that it's 7, I think it would be there. I feel like, it was already discussed pretty in depth on the podcast, but so go and watch that episode if you haven't already. But I think the 3 stories that they put together are really funny and creative. I had a lot of fun with the actors in the film. I think that they all like deliver unique performances in each story, and I'll be honest, I think I liked it more than Poor Things. So that's my hot take for Kinds of Kindness. Yeah.
Okay. I really did like Kinds of Kindness a lot. I wanted it on my list. It's it was just missed it by that much. I think this would be 12 if I were to keep this in the ranking. I don't necessarily like it more than Four Things, but I did come around to this movie. I didn't love it when I first saw it, but then it just kind of like stuck in my head. And over time I grew to appreciate it. My number 7 is Nosferatu, by Robert Eggers. This movie, I mean, I've been a fan of Robert Eggers. I think he has one of the most unique voices in horror today. I loved The Witch. I loved The Lighthouse, which you can argue on whether The Lighthouse and The Northman are horror or not. Nosferatu and The Witch for sure are. And it's so hard to quantify this movie, but it's just because this movie is essentially Dracula. That is the storyline. So you think it should be familiar, but it's not because of the way that he presents it, and it's just so visually striking. Just so much attention to detail. It is a little odd. Definitely not for everyone. I went with 7 people. I think I'm the only one who ended up liking it. They had a few people who were kind of in the middle. Some people that hated it. But if you like anything kind of weird and kind of out of the box, Nosferatu is I would highly recommend.
Yeah, I'm planning on seeing it soon, and I guess this is a good time to ask, like, have you seen any of the other Nosferatu films, like the original from the 20s or the Nosferatu the Vampire?
I have seen scenes of the original. I took a film class once where we watched multiple scenes of it, but I did not see the whole movie.
Got it. Okay.
I haven't watched any of them. Surprise, surprise. No, this is horror, and this is monster horror, which is the worst kind of horror. So,
and it's
have you
Robert
seen the
Eggers, which is
SpongeBob
even...
Graveyard Shift episode?
huh?
The SpongeBob
yeah.
Graveyard Shift episode?
Nosferatu appears in that episode of SpongeBob.
Oh, I've heard about it. Yes.
Yeah.
This I've heard about. I thought you were just making fun of me. You were like, "Oh, you're probably afraid of the graveyard episode." I was
No,
like, why is
I
he
meant
being a
like
jerk?
I meant like he's in it if you've seen the episode.
I've heard about it. I have not watched that episode, but yes,
Okay.
I've heard about it. All right. At number 6. Oh wow, we're getting through this really quickly. Okay. At number 6, I have Merry Christmas, which is a Netflix film which has got Vijay Sethupathi and Katrina Kaif in it. I loved it. I know it received like some like mixed reviews, but I thought the mystery was compelling and it kept me hooked, and I wasn't able to tell what happened, and that's kind of what I look like. It like if a film presents itself as a mystery and I'm able to figure it out before the film tells me something, I think that takes away from my experience, and this film didn't do that, so I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I saw the movie also. It didn't quite make the list.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was quite good. Definitely a lot better than I expected, and they had the big switch because the first hour of the movie drags, and then the moment you get the reveal, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, great film.
At number 6 for me, I have Monkey Man.
That's a plant.
That is a plant. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Right.
Double
Rohan?
plant.
Yeah.
Yeah. My number 6 is A Real Pain.
Oh, I almost had that on the list.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't make the cut for me.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it.
I just watched this movie this past weekend, so I bumped out something else that I'm guessing both of you will have on your list. But we get kind of this movie every year where there's either friends or family members who go on some kind of trip that they haven't seen each other in a while, and then they really connect with each other and they come out exchange people, and it's a dramedy. One person is a little bit zany. One person is very kind of like a stick in the mud. It's kind of, again, you get one of those movies every year. But I love it. This might be like my favorite type of genre of movies, where it's this dramedy about people coming together who haven't seen each other in a long time. It's just so funny, but also so touching at times. And Jesse Eisenberg, great job with. I mean, he wrote and directed the movie, and he was good in the movie. And then, of course, Kieran Culkin, just fantastic.
Is there Oscar buzz around this or not really?
I think
A
for
little bit.
Kieran Culkin there is.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, when I walked out of the movie theater, I called it. I called a nomination. Let's see. They're not out yet. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm hearing it's between it's for Culkin's performance, and then it has a chance at screenplay as well.
Oh yeah.
I can say
definitely.
that. Yeah, solid movie. All right. So top 5 now. At 5, I have Inside Out 2.
Love this movie. Didn't quite make my list.
Yeah, I know that Rohan and I have some disagreements about this film, but this movie made me feel seen like nothing else has. There's that one scene with anxiety, without giving up too much spoilers. Like, I felt like they just went in my head and they wrote it. And I read the movie, just it blew my socks off. I enjoyed every minute of it. It was great.
Awesome. I still have not seen even the first one. It's such a weird blind spot for me, but I'll catch it eventually.
There is a terrifying aspect to it, Kevin, if that's gonna float your boat a little.
Yeah, I liked this. I liked this quite a bit. I liked Inside Out quite a bit. I mean, I think I even gave it a recommend when we did our episode. On it. It's just, it didn't stick with me over time, and I think that's really what it is. And then especially on a rewatch, I really was like, yeah, this feels like above average Pixar, and not like transcendently good. That's just me, though. It's still a great movie, and I would recommend it to most people.
5 for me is Anora by Sean Baker.
Blonde.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Didn't. Okay, we'll talk about it later. But
yeah.
All right. Top 5 for me as well. Just full disclosure, this top 5 was hard to rank. I kind of have these movies kind of equal to each other on the same tier, if you want to say that. And this is, the difference between 1 and 5 is like razor thin. But my number 5 is Challengers.
Plant.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to be a plant.
All right. Well, my number 4 is Monkey Man.
That's a plant.
Is it still a plant? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is.
Look at that. Okay. Kevin?
All right, my number 4, I think this might get planted too, unless you're like just about to talk about it. But my number 4 is All We Imagine as Light.
That's a plant.
Okay.
All right. So my number 4 is a payoff from earlier. We're finally getting one of those. It's Furiosa.
Okay.
I loved Furiosa. It is. This is one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and it delivered. It's it's coming out how many 9 years after Mad Max Fury Road, which I love Fury Road. This is a little bit less action, a little bit more story, but in my mind, this is the perfect sequel because it works extremely well by itself, but it also makes Fury Road better. And then another thing that I love about this movie is that most movies tend to have story, and then action scene. and story, action scene. In Furiosa, the action scenes are still story. They're still driving the story forward, which it's something that feels simple, but very, very few movies are actually able to do it.
Yeah. I thought the performances were great. And I mean the action. Yeah. And I thought the action set pieces were incredible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, and I thought that the way they injected humor in it was super effective. Yeah, solid film. All right. You said number 4. Oh, top 3. Look at that. Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna pay off something from earlier on. Number 3, I have Lapata Ladies. Um, I heard about it for the first time a really long time ago. I think it premiered at TIFF at some point, and I saw like a conversation that Kiran Rao, the director, had with someone, and I saw the trailer, and I had to just wait for months and months and months for the film to finally come out. Um, it was great. I enjoyed most of it. This would have been at number 1, except that Rohan pointed out the whole child marriage thing, and after that, I like before he pointed that out, this was a perfect film for me. Like,
oh, I'm sorry, everyone.
no, that's fine. I mean, it had to happen. No, but like, so before I like noticed that little detail, it was a perfect film for me. Like nothing, it was flawless. And then he like, we talked about
I
it, and
crushed your dreams.
yeah, just straight in the heart. But yeah, so that's why it's at number 3. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I know it's been nominated for the Oscar. Or no, I know it's going to
No.
get submitted
Yeah.
from India. Hopefully we'll see a nom. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned why did I have it? You were surprised I had it at number 9. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great movie. I had some minor issues with it, and I know that even when we did our podcast episode, which if you want to know in detail what some of my issues with it were, you can go listen to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a movie that I didn't even give the full recommend to. I gave it a consider. That said, I'm kind of more evaluating the movie as a whole versus it's just my favorites. But it's still stuck with me. It's just so simple, yet also very, very effective.
Yeah.
And also super entertaining.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they did a good job of keeping it light while still like maintaining some of the drama of it all.
Yep.
I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah. And also, I know technically this is 2023, but most people had the opportunity to see it in 2024. And if India can submit it for Oscar consideration as a 2024 movie, then we can have it in our top 10 of 2024. I
think theatrical release was still 2024. I think 2023 was still the festival run.
Yeah, I'm just saying if you Google it, it shows up as 2023. 2023. That's why. Yeah.
All right, so my number 3 is a payoff from a plan earlier. It is The Substance by Coralie Farja. I have no idea if I pronounced that right. Rohan, you and we did our first mini-sode on this.
Yeah.
I love The Substance. I don't care if it is the most obvious you should love yourself the way that you look movie ever. I don't care that it's obvious. I think it's fun. I think it's really cool with the world that they build around this substance that people use. And I think it honestly is something that, especially in horror, I feel like we've been lacking is like really unique voices of body horror. I feel like all the time I'm seeing kind of the same thing. And The Substance, I really think, took a different approach to it. And I love how loud and expressive it is because the director, borrows from like this French extremism, like new editing style. It's one of the flashiest films of the year. I really love everything that they did with it. Demi Moore's performance is fantastic, and I really hope that she gets the Oscar. What about you, Rohan?
Yeah, this movie was great. I actually didn't. This movie was not on my radar until you told me about it, and then we watched it. And okay, I gotta say, first of all, like the most disgusting movie I've ever seen. So it's obviously I liked it. It was in my list. But yeah, if you're gonna watch it, make sure if you haven't seen it and you're listening to this and you're deciding whether or not to watch it, maybe have like a bucket next to you.
Don't eat turkey
Um,
before.
Yeah. Oh, definitely do not eat turkey or chicken. But I mean, you mentioned it's about like love yourself, but it's also, I think, bigger than that. But it's also about how the movie industry, and then as an extension, society, kind of treats women when they age. And I think the commentary is very interesting while packaged together in this awesome movie, and they really just lean into the concept because, and I'm not going to spoil it, but in every conceivable way that you could think of with the concept, that happens in the movie. I don't think you could utilize that any further.
I remember that the AMC promotions involved like this like distorted mirror set, like a bathroom set with a
Oh
distorted
yeah.
mirror. Yeah, I remember seeing that. And that is the closest I will get to watching that film. Um,
I mean, I would
I
recommend it.
will.
I think you would like it on a thematic level.
yeah.
It's not that scary.
Well, I think
Yeah,
it's
for as scary as it is, it's also really funny. I want to say, like, this movie is hilarious at times.
My number 3 is payoff from earlier. It's All We Imagine as Light. Uh, or as I like to call it, the movie that India should have submitted for Oscar consideration. We can talk about that more in depth later, but I heard about this movie because it won the Grand Prix at Cannes, which which I believe is the second highest award a movie can get there, and I think it's the first Indian film to do that.
Mhm.
And I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this movie, and then I finally watched it.
Mhm.
And part of me was worried that it wouldn't live up to the hype. And it's different than what I expected. It's very, very quiet, very
Mhm.
slow. But similar to How to Make Millions Before Rama Dies, I think it allows you to just follow the characters as if they are they're just other human beings that are and not characters in a movie. It just there's a realness to this movie that I don't think anything else on this list, not even the top 2, gave me this year.
Mhm.
And by the end, I just felt completely like moved. So really, really special movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this was my number 4, so it's not that far from yours. I think that this is, if I had to pick which film is like the best looking aesthetically, or has the best cinematography, I would go with All We Imagine Is Light. I think this movie is beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
there, I think literally like the day before I had watched Cloud and I saw like, oh, I think that's like my favorite individual shot of the year. And then I think like 10 shots from All We Imagine Is Light replaced that. Like, it is such a great looking film. They really use their environment and even their, to an extent, their budget to like the greatest extent they could to make that movie look good. And you could argue like this is a film that you can make for not for really not a lot of money. Um, I think that characters are simple to understand, but they're really complex people, and like watching everything that they do is really entertaining, and I was engrossed in it the whole time. I just thought that this film, it just really spoke to me. It's one of my favorites of the year. So yeah.
Very cool.
And I disagree with the film board saying it's not Indian enough. What does that even mean?
Yeah, that's just yeah. Um, I I just think that they made up a reason. Like they made their choice and then they
Yeah.
just made up a reason. That's
Yeah.
kind of what it sounded like. Yeah. What can you say? All right. At number 2, I have this Malayalam film. It's called Ullurikal or The Undercurrent. I got to watch it at IFLA this year, last year, 2024. It's a great film. It's a great like character film. It's about this woman who loses her husband in the middle of a flood, and she's stuck with home with her like mother-in-law, the body of her husband, and her family um, through a flood. So it's like for like 10 days, they're stuck in the house with this body. And of course, there's like other conflict around it. Some of her secrets come out, and how she kind of handles the whole thing makes up the story. I thought the mother-in-law relationship was solid, and I really enjoyed watching this film.
I haven't even heard of this movie. That's interesting.
It was a really small film, and I know that it was the director even. Have you heard of Film Independent out here in LA?
I have.
Yeah, so it was developed at one of their workshops, as was Lapata Ladies actually.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so they I think they might be a good like space to follow. But no, it's a great film. Totally worth watching. Like you said, like I imagine, what you guys were talking about with All We Imagine as Light was is that in this film too, it's like it's super slow. It starts off very like low stakes and low conflict, and then you just kind of live with these characters for so long that after a while, it's like everything they feel, you feel. And it was a very, very well done film.
I love the concept. I really want to check this out now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it streaming anywhere?
I think it's on Prime.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, great film.
All right. At number 2 for me, this is a payoff from a plant earlier. I have Challengers, directed by Luca Guadagnino. I don't know if there's anything else to say about Challengers that hasn't been said. Like, if like All We Imagine is Light is like the most like visually like stunning movie, I think that this film is the best like in terms of movement with all of the camera techniques that they do in this film are crazy. But I think at the heart of it is the story of these 3 characters. When I heard about this film and I was like, oh, it's like a tennis like love story, like I'm like, okay, I don't really know. Like I've watched a little bit of tennis with you, Rohan, but really I don't know a lot about the sport, and I don't know if this is gonna be like something that I'm like. I'm not really into sports dramas at all, but this has got to be like the best one that I've seen. I mean, the stakes are so high for these characters that are that we see like change over the course of their lives, and I just think that the romance is really well done. The love triangle even is really well done. And I don't know, Juan Nino just makes it as like as like absurd. It's almost like absurd, like how these people get together, and like how they like cheat on each other. But it's all entertaining, and I love the storytelling aspects with the way that the script bounces back in time. I just think it's like such a clever film, and I love it.
Yeah, this is also one of my favorite movies of the year. I had it at 5. I am a huge tennis guy. I played it all 4 years in high school. I watch it, at least the big tournaments, and I was super excited because I really like Luca Guadagnino. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like him as a director also. I'm usually not a fan of love triangles. Depends on the movie. I know sometimes, especially in like young adult movies or like teen dramas, they tend to be very, for lack of a better word, cringy. Uh,
If you're calling Twilight cringy, like I don't know what to say. Um, that's just it's a cinematic masterpiece, and you don't have to call it out like that.
okay, I never actually said it by name. That was you. But yeah, this movie was awesome. I think the love triangle worked. The way that they had the scenes when they actually played tennis. First of all, the actors, they look like they know how to play tennis. It's very frustrating. I've seen movies where there's someone who's supposed to be good at a sport, but looks like they're playing it for the first time. They actually used they know what they're doing. I think they used Brad Gilbert, who is the trainer for or the coach for Coco Gauff, who acted as their coach for this movie. And just some of the oh yeah, the the shot when there's a shot where you're in the POV of the tennis ball. Just to quote Martin Scorsese, this is cinema.
Have you seen some of the TikTok that Scorsese's daughter posts?
Oh yeah,
They're so nice. It's hilarious.
It's so
Um,
wholesome.
yeah, and I like
yeah.
that he's still just as excited about films. It gives me hope.
My number two is a payoff from earlier, and that's Monkey Man.
Hmm.
Yeah, Monkey Man. I didn't really know much about this movie, and then I saw the trailer that came out,
Hmm.
and immediately I was like, "Yeah, this movie looks awesome."
Hmm.
It's I think Dave Patel's it's his directorial debut, right? Or at least
Hmm.
for like a big
Yeah,
film. Um, but oh man, he knocked it out of the park. Just everything
yeah.
about this movie, the storyline, the acting, the action. I think some of the best action, um, probably the best action I've seen all year, to
Mhm.
be honest. And
Yeah,
that's in a year where we had a Furiosa.
yeah.
Uh,
Um,
so it's just the hand-to-hand combat was incredible. Uh,
yeah. No, solid film. The whole sequence with the tabla
yep.
was just so cool, so well done. I also really like the fight sequence that goes through the brothel. Um,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
was a very creative use of space, I thought.
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, I love films that it feels like it took like blood, sweat, and tears to make it, and like this being like an action film, of course, there's like super high stakes, like really lots of like big set pieces and
Mhm.
grandiose like camera movement. It doesn't like all work all the time, but like a majority of it does,
Mhm.
and I really love everything that was put into this film. I think it kind of just I don't know, it just speaks to the level of like if you do not like give up on your baby, then like your baby's gonna be like the best baby in the little delivery room. And that's what Monkey Man is to me with in terms of action films this year. So
Yeah.
All right. Um, I, I don't know why you used a baby analogy, but okay. Um,
I didn't know another way to put it, but I don't
so
know. I
you're
mean,
saying this is Dev Patel's baby?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
maybe
Okay. Okay. Just clarifying. I'm curious. I'm a curious person. All right.
his little monkey baby.
Hmm. Okay.
Speaking of monkeys, your number one is Better Man, correct?
So that's
Okay.
2025. So
Oh,
Right. Oh, better man. That's right. All right. Well, at number one, I have a payoff from earlier on. Do you guys remember?
it's a Nora.
It, it's a Nora. Yeah.
okay.
Um,
That's awesome.
I loved that film. Oh my God, it was so good. I think everything about it worked for me. Especially love the girl who played Honora. Um, the story was tight. There was humor. There was action. Um, everything about it. And then in that last scene when she has that moment, I thought it was um, very cathartic. I really, really like the film.
Yeah. I ended up watching this movie. I loved it. This would have been like 11 for me. Yeah, I just couldn't quite. A Real Pain is the reason why I knocked it off of my top
Right.
10.
Yeah. No, I see the logic. They're like, yeah, I see why you might have made that choice, but yeah, Kevin and I watched Anora together, and it was it was fantastic. I was laughing, I was crying. It was great.
Yeah. Not much else to add. I mean, Mikey Madison is great in it. I think that it's such a fun film. I really enjoyed the character dynamics and the humor. But it also has a really sweet side to it, like a really like sad um like the deeper that you get into the film, the more you feel for this character and the more heartbreaking it is to see what how it all ends up. Number one for me is a film called Look Back, directed by I might be pronouncing this wrong, Kiyotaka Oshiyama. It is an anime film. And it's only about an hour long. I recommended it in an episode on the podcast, and I had a feeling that between this Challengers and the Substance, I was like neck and neck on like which one would be my favorite. But this film really blew me away. It's a film about two art students, and just from that information, expect like some really high quality animation and like really unique like ways that they approach this story in terms of using the animation because these two art students they go down two different paths while also being really good friends and there's just I don't know to say more about this movie would give away a lot of its intricacies. I just think that this film like really blew me away. It really devastated me. I'm honestly getting a little choked up thinking about it, but it is a really special film to me. And for something that came out like last year, I know that there's often like I try to catch like one anime release like a year, but it's not always easy to. This one's on Prime Video, so and it's like I said, it's only an hour, so definitely check it out. Um, I don't think it's on many people's radar. I don't think it will get an animation nominee at the Oscars. So I hope it doesn't get lost in the wave of our great animation year last year because it's really special, and I hope that people get to check it out.
Yeah, I really want to check this out. I haven't been able to yet. Although I know it's very short, so it's not really a good excuse. But it's streaming somewhere, I believe, right?
Yeah,
On
Prime Video.
Prime? Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check it out then. Okay. All right. The moment we've all been waiting for. What's my number one movie of the year? Come on, it's obvious. Dune 2. Dune 2.
Oh yeah,
That's the best movie of the past decade. No,
Ah,
in all seriousness, I do enjoy this movie. But I've I just made that joke. Well, one to mess with kids, and that two, I've been seeing that a lot. Where people have Dune as the best movie of the past 10 years. Um, I think it's quite good. Wasn't on my list. My actual number one, also an animated movie. It's The Wild Robot.
I knew it.
I
I knew
yeah,
it.
yeah, I love this movie. I think ultimately this is a movie about kind of parenthood, um, motherhood to be specific, and sometimes they extremely well for me. Sometimes not so much. Usually, um, so it's kind of a coin flip. This one is one of those ones that worked extremely well. And obviously we did a whole episode talking about the spoilers, but if just to not spoil things, there's a scene in in the middle, which has the robot running with a bunch of birds as they're about to fly. And that is probably my favorite shot. And I know it's weird to say for animation, but it's my favorite shot. And my favorite scene of any movie I've seen in 2024. It's like watching this movie, it's like, damn, I know what it's like to be a mother. I'm kidding, obviously.
I mean, you don't have
But
kids.
yeah. Yeah, well, I don't want people to be
Yeah.
like, no, you actually have no idea. But I
Fair
feel like it
enough,
gives me a
yeah.
better insight. I feel like I have better insight than I did before watching this
Mhm.
movie.
I mean, we talked about this more in depth in our episode about the wild robot, but I think that's the reason the mother angle is the reason it didn't work for me, which is really interesting. But I see what you're saying. I knew this movie was going to be on your list, and I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I mean, now that we're done with
Yeah.
with our top 10, I think we should reveal what we each wrote for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Go ahead.
Kirtana, you want to go first?
Yeah. For Kevin, I had Substance.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
So, and then for Rohan, first I wrote Nosferatu, and then I changed it to Wild Robot. So, yes.
Yeah, and then
Yes.
you can see in my handwriting is awful, but
Yeah.
Kirsten and I had Inside Out 2, and
Yep.
Kevin I had Challengers.
Great
I typed
guesses.
it in, so I don't think it's like the best, but I failed. I failed with Kirtana. I thought you were gonna put Mufasa on this list.
Okay.
I really thought it was gonna show up.
Mhm.
Rohan, I went with Monkey Man because I was
Yeah,
pretty sure it would be there, so I thought
Yeah.
I'd say
yeah.
that.
Well, to be fair, I think you got very close with Mufasa because at number 10, I was really struggling to make the decision between Mufasa and Moana too.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like the animation on Moana better, and that's why I picked it.
Mhm.
Like it was
Yeah,
that
I haven't
close.
seen
So,
either.
yeah.
I think I will prioritize Moana over Mufasa.
It's a good film. It's a great film. I don't know why no one likes it.
Yeah. Did you guys have any honorable mentions that you wanted to throw out? Just real quick.
Huh.
I can start if you want to think.
Yeah, go for it.
I would have In a Violent Nature. I won't say much on it, but if you like Friday the 13th and you want to see it in the killer's POV, that's a good film for you. I would say Dune Part 2. I did enjoy Dune Part 2. I think Dune Part 1's better. So, I saw the TV Glow. It's pretty interesting.
That's one I missed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not from 2024, but probably my favorite film I watched last year that was not a 2024 release was called Secrets and Lies. And I bring that up because, one, because I thought it was awesome, but second is because the director, Mike Lee, he has a new film coming out called Hard Truths. I think it's streaming on Apple as well. So check that out because it has the same actress in it as Secrets and Lies, and it's a great film.
Okay. Yeah, I got a couple of honorable mentions. Honora, loved it. Just didn't make my list. Kinds of Kindness. My Old Ass, which I feel like nobody watched. And and finally, Jigra. Those were what I would say is my honorable mentions. Loved all 4 of those movies. Just I like the other 10 better. And
Yeah. But
and then
sorry,
the
go
movie
ahead.
that I watched. Sorry, I was
No,
gonna
go
do
ahead. Go ahead.
movie that I watched.
Hmm.
Movie that I watched this year for the first time that really stood out to me was Grave of the Fireflies. I I heard all about how this is one of the saddest and most heartbreaking movies ever. And even knowing that, yeah, it got me.
Yeah, that movie's beautiful.
For my honorable mentions, I did want to shout out the new House of the Dragon season that came out this year.
Mhm.
Really, really enjoyed it. This morning when we were discussing it, like I was very close to wanting to say that I want to put TV shows in here too. But then I think that it just makes this whole like listicle thing super hard. Um, because I think this year I watched like much more, like just in terms of volume, I watched more TV than films. So
Right.
so like I was a little I was frustrated that I wasn't able to talk about that stuff. So yeah, House of the Dragon will be an honorable mention for me.
That's awesome. Um, Speaking of TV, I can cut this if we don't end up wanting to leave it in. Okay. All right, one last question before we go. What was the worst movie we watched last year?
I don't know if they were the worst, but two that come to mind. It's our one Deadpool. I really did not like Deadpool. And then Fighter.
Yeah, Haida was shit. I did. There was this Telugu film called Devara that I watched. It's just horrible. Oh my God, it was so bad. And then Megalopolis, I think, was like when I first watched it, and I know because I was going back at on our episodes and I was just seeing like what I said about things, and I said consider. I don't know like what I was thinking.
So that's a
Uh,
retroactive pass now.
yeah, because I think we were talking about it for a while, and I was just like, oh well, I guess he put a lot of effort into this. I should at least say consider, and I just said consider. And oh God, that movie, jeez, it makes no sense. So yeah, I think that's one of my worst.
Mine is our most recent episode. I didn't really watch a lot of bad movies last year, but I
Mhm.
hate Carry On. I hate every aspect of the dialogue in that movie. I can't stand characters who talk about things as they do them, and then also characters who like talk about their backstory, like, oh, you didn't get that police job. Like, just I hate that so much. And
Yeah.
Jason Bateman is really miscast. Like he isn't intimidating at all. He's really
Yeah.
annoying. But yeah, did
Yeah,
not like that movie.
that's a great answer.
I didn't think it was
Yeah.
that bad, but I stand by my consider.
I
It's all
think
good.
That is it for the top 10 movies of 2024. Uh, and that's also it for this episode of the Pages to Pixels podcast. I'm Rohan.
I'm Kirtana,
I'm Kevin.
and thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of the Pages to Pixels podcast. We'll see you again next week for a brand new episode. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
season 2.
That's right, season 2.